Are we approaching 100K? What's the title? I didn't even ask. What is it?
The title is, oh, I said it like 3 hours ago. 5 million sats for every American.
I like that. Have we not learned our lesson, American people?
Dude, I support it.
I mean, I do too, just not for the reason that many of the public support it.
I support it from like an accelerationist standpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
They should just
We,
send sats directly. Like they should skip the step of us
Logan, there's a
having to
website.
go
Look
and
up,
then buy Bitcoin with it.
yeah, look up the COVID stimmy check.
It's worth like
Bitcoin,
$17,000 today.
and it was
The
$1,200,
stimulus
right?
check. Yeah.
Yeah, if you bought Bitcoin with the stimmy check,
But
they
that one
released
had
it.
carve outs. Like not everyone got it. Like everyone should just get 5 million sats. Just send everyone 5 million sats. This is something I support way more than a Bitcoin reserve. Fuck the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Just print money and send it to us.
Yeah, it's crazy that that's where their mind goes to. It's like, oh, we're gonna save a bunch of money, and then we're gonna send you all money,
But they're
and
not even.
they want to fight inflation. It's like,
You realize there's 250 million Americans. So adult
there's,
Americans.
I was gonna say there's 100 million more than that, but yeah,
Yeah, I assume we're not going to send babies stimmy checks, right? So if you send 250 million Americans $5,000 each, which is what Elon floated, that's $1.25 trillion. Like he hasn't even come
they haven't
close
even cut
to
that
saving
much yet.
a fraction of that with Doge. So that's all marketing spin or whatever. Like, oh, we're going to send back some of the Doge savings. But like I
Yeah,
said, I support it. 75 million sats straight to cold storage.
yeah. Logan had the chart up. If we had to wait 5 years,
Yeah, pull the chart back up.
that was a 10x. That'd be 50 grand in 5 years.
This is from November of last year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's probably around the same. No,
No, it's higher now. It's like 17 and a half or something.
yeah, I'd take that.
But I didn't even get that stimmy check. I got robbed.
I got that stimmy check.
Yeah.
I was
Proud of
ball.
you.
I was ball.
I was like just above the fucking threshold.
I forget. Yeah.
No threshold bullshit. Just remove all taxes and just send us sats. I support it.
I'll send you my Ellen address. You just send it straight there.
They should just zap us.
Just zap, yeah, public zapping to make it
It'd be efficient.
That's how you audit. That's how you audit. You'd be able to
Yeah.
track it. You know, this is a big problem right now. I've been unable to track where the money's going. Broadcast it through public relays.
It would support the economy because we'd be able to afford so many more bets.
Afford so many more bets. We can pay for all these tariffs that are coming. You know what? Let's do it. 5 million sats. Marty at primal.net. Send it straight there. A lot going on in the world. I just saw the CEO of Pfizer is with Trump, wherever Trump is right now.
It's CPAC, right?
CPAC's going on. I don't know if Trump's there. I don't know why he would be. CPAC's
baby Trump was there.
Yeah.
Trump Jr. was there.
I don't think Trump would be there. He doesn't need to raise any more money. He's already president. But I think he was at the White House. He was like, we got the CEO, the president of Pfizer here, the great American. He literally got booed by the press. We were like, boo. It's just crazy. This whole, we don't have to start on politics and COVID, but like it is the mRNA fascination and Trump's inability to recognize that his reaction to COVID with the lockdowns, the stimmy checks, and Operation Warp Speed is mind-boggling to me. How do you not?
Yeah, I mean, he like kind of skated by on like not taking much blame for it, and it's almost like they're trying to take the blame for it.
Yeah,
it's oddly out of touch. I mean, even when was Lutnick that used that as an example in the sovereign wealth fund. It's like literally could have used any other example. It's like, oh, if we're going to switch McDonald's over to beef tallow, like Americans are going to eat there, like we should own some McDonald's. Like there's a million other examples he could use. And he's like, no, if we're gonna force people to take vaccines, we should own a portion of the company.
It's like, what?
It's like, okay, bro.
The reason it's so perplexing, like, has my tinfoil hat ears pinging right now, is because they're so perceptive about everything else. I'm like going on the podcast and like the lead up to the election. It seemed like they had their finger on the pulse.
Doge saving checks, like Doge saving checks, is a nice spin on just printing a shit ton of money and sending it to people.
Yeah. Who knows? Pay attention, freaks.
Elon is like fighting for it on X. Like you see him actively being like, we're going to use mRNA to cure cancer and shit.
Yeah. Very perplexing. Very overwhelming.
I think there's just you got to like follow the money. There's a lot of money to be made. And these guys like making money. Like the other one that I've had my eye on recently is, like, have you seen like Anduril Industries is just dominating the airwaves lately? The new defense contractor by Palmer Luckey.
Oh, this is
like
I could have told you this 2 years ago. I went to an event in Miami that was filled with like a lot of people in the investment space, and there was a contingent of them in the defense tech, and their pitch at the event I was at was, and now that Trump's in and the Thiel and JD Vance and all those around him, it's very obvious what's happening. Their pitch for companies like Anduril and the others in the defense tech space is you have an $800 billion defense budget that's being funneled to Booz Allen, Halliburton, all the other big weapons and defense manufacturers, and Anduril and others are saying, we can do what those guys can do better for 10% of the cost. And that's how that's being positioned. And then obviously like the PayPal Mafia, Palantir guys, they have equity stakes in these companies, and their incentive is to shift some of that defense budget from the incumbent military industrial complex companies toward Anduril and all these guys. It's very, very obvious to me what's happening.
Kieran, if you're watching right now, I mean, you're probably aware, but Zapstream's having issues.
Yeah, it's not working for me.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It just feels coordinated, particularly on X. The amount of positive engagement that Anduril's getting, because I mean, they're creating like the next generation of like killer robots and autonomous drones and like AI powered shit. It's like Palantir plus missiles.
Yeah.
It's like that's like the pitch. And it's actually quite fascinating. If you go down the defense contractor, I hate calling it defense contractor. If you go down like the military contractors, the military industrial complex in the US, if you go down that rabbit hole of history, because they basically seeded Silicon Valley in the beginning. A lot of Silicon Valley started because of the early defense contractors. And they kind of took that early mentality that defense contractors had, which was small, lean teams that are like thinking out of the box, that, iron sharpens iron kind of thing, like back against the wall. And since then, defense contractors, basically after the Cold War, have gotten way, way more bureaucratized, right? And like bloated and inefficient. And you have these massive contracts that are like split between 10 different companies, 20 different companies, 30 different companies across every state so that everyone gets jobs. It's like, it's just a pretty crazy rabbit hole. But yeah, like Anduril's whole pitch is that they'll do it the old way, right? So they'll do the research and development, they'll build the product, they'll find the quote unquote product market fit, and then they'll sell like ready to build stuff to the government rather than the government starting, top down, centrally planning everything. But yeah, I'm not, I don't know if did you watch the Palmer Luckey podcast?
I watched clips from him. I like Palmer Luckey. He's like eccentric. I think he's really smart, bright guy.
Yeah. And
type of person like you want focused on these problems, and it is but like there is this like this.
But it's part of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an internal battle. You listen to it, and he's like, he even has a part of. I was taking clips out of it and putting it on Nostr. Like he has a part where he's like, you got to read science fiction. Like the science fiction guys dream it, and then we bring it to fruition or whatever. It's like straight to my heartstrings. Like it hits me. But at the same time, he's making killer autonomous robots. So like all the. It does feel like a publicity tour psyop kind of situation.
It certainly does. And I've been thinking about this topic all week, hoping we were going to talk about it. And I think the thing to look out for and what people should push for, and this was because the clips that I watched, I haven't watched the whole Sean Ryan. Like I think Sean Ryan might be a psyop too. Just putting that out there. The clips that I saw, it really made me think back to the sovereign individual. And the sovereign individual, they predicted Bitcoin, they predicted Trump, and they predicted AI and autonomous weaponry or autonomous utility goods coming to market. And I think just as like Bitcoin's a great example, it's accessible to everybody and it really brings the leverage of asymmetric power back to the individual. And this autonomous drone and weapon technology could do it for the individual too, but it has to be accessible to them. And so that's the question. Will individuals get access to these autonomous drones?
No shot in fucking hell, Marty.
Well, then you're going to need like a defense distributed for these autonomous drones.
Yeah, no, they'll be... Okay, I reset Zapstream. I think it works now. It might have been our side. I turned it off and on again, but it seems to be working. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be like hackers. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be to Palmer Luckey's part about reading science fiction. If you haven't read Kill Decision, you should read Kill Decision by Daniel Suarez. Like I read that maybe 8 years ago or something like that. And ever since then, it has a little piece in my mind all the time. I'm always constantly thinking about it. It's all about like autonomous drone swarms and off-the-shelf parts and plausible deniability and how it changes everybody's threat model.
Yeah,
people aren't ready for it. I mean, I don't pretend to be ready for it just because I read a
sci-fi book.
But yeah,
no, I mean, back to your original point, like the people have surrounded, or people that Trump has surrounded himself with, like Palantir and XAI announced a deal. I think they're already using Grok 3 in some of their systems, which are notoriously opaque. Nobody knows exactly what Palantir does outside the defense, the U.S. defense apparatus, which contracts them out. Lonsdale and Alex Karp have both been on CNBC in recent months, like with shit-eating grins, saying we can't tell you what we're doing, but we're helping governments kill people, like explicitly.
Freedom.
Yeah. And then obviously the same people funded Palantir are funding Anduril. And so, you can have this very dystopian autonomous. And that's Anduril specifically. I think their first product, the Roadrunner, was marketed to secure the border. And I think the combination of deploying their technology there with a digital ID system is something that people have to be very vigilant about. I think that's the path to the digital ID is the border.
And voting.
Yeah.
It's 100% going to be used as the excuse for both.
Yeah.
And I think there's a decently large chance that we have a hot war on the Mexican border. And on both sides of the Mexican border. Like imagine Afghanistan, but right next to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big news item this week. I think 6 cartels got labeled as terrorist groups, so we can technically the U.S. or the military has the right to drone Mexican cartels now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a decent chance that escalates. We'll see how that plays out.
Give peace a chance, people. Come on. Let's give it a chance.
Yeah, Marty's like a 1990s Miss America winner. I believe in world peace. Yeah, I don't know. The Nostra stream is dead right now. I don't know what to say to you guys.
Yeah.
I can't troubleshoot it live on air. We haven't changed anything on our side. It's either Restream's fault or
Yell at Kieran.
Kieran's fault. And
it's not our fault.
clearly, you're watching on YouTube, so
Apparently, there's an additional Twitter-specific problem going on as well,
What?
what's wrong with Twitter?
according to Ed.
All right, so someone's having on that. We need to figure out Restream upgrade anything.
I don't think so.
No, it's funny we're having this conversation.
What's wrong on X?
Ed said that there was a delay. I haven't heard anything more. I don't have Twitter on my phone.
There's always going to be a delay.
Like an audio delay from the video, I think.
Are you recording locally?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. You missed the live stream.
It's good. Listen to the podcast.
Yeah. The YouTube channel or comments are saying proof Noster
And Twitch
sucks.
is working. Man, Noster's early.
No, it's funny. We're talking about this. I just recorded with Ian Carroll, and we were talking a lot about this because it is. Everybody's excited about Doge. Everybody's excited about the ESG woke mind virus being sort of pulled out of the federal government, but had to stay vigilant about the people coming in on the back end. Could be a nice bait and switch. Own the frame.
Look, just to bring it back, like I just want 5 million sats. Just send us 5 million sats. I want 5 million sats. I want that Toyota truck that's $13,000. Like that should be available in America. So get us 5 million sats. Get us that truck, and abolish the NFA. You should just be able to go and buy a suppressor in Walmart. Walk out with it.
Shout out to Denver Bitcoin Adam. He's gone crazy viral on X by just posting a video of that Toyota truck and saying, we need this in America. I think he's done it like 4 times now. He had like 200,000 likes on the last one. Engagement.
I think it would revitalize the U.S. economy if everyone could buy a $13,000 Toyota pickup truck.
With no computers in it. That would be great. All right. Let's get to Clark's dashboard. My wife's calling me. I wonder, we're recording a little late today. I forgot to tell my wife.
Oh, that's my fault. Apologize to her for me. Say it's my fault.
Honey, if you're watching, I'll be home.
My babysitter got my wife was out and my babysitter got a flat tire today. So Marty had to move things around to delay the rip. That was on me.
Hey, the show must go on. Guess what keeps going on? Doesn't stop. Block by block. Tick tock. Bitcoin. The current price is $98,190. One cuckbuck is going to get you 1,018 sats. So 5 million sats, around $5,000. Now, you're going to get a little bit more than 5 million sats if they send $5,000 worth of Bitcoin to us. Right under $2 trillion market cap at $1.95 trillion. We are at block height 884,633, which means we are 391 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, which is estimated to be on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. Looking like a downward adjustment of 2%. Right now, 2.1%. Blocks have been coming in at 10 minutes and 13 seconds on average. Mempool, a little bit more congested than it was last week. 46,436 transactions in Clark's mempool. And Clark's mempool is more endowed than mempool's mempool this week. 46,457 transactions in mempool's mempool. As you can see there, relatively cheap. 3 sats per V-byte across the board.
Amazingly cheap.
How many blocks do we have here? 32 blocks of backup, so mempool's not as empty as it was a couple weeks ago. On to the list. Big news for the Bitcoin industry. Fold went public this week on NASDAQ, trading under the ticker FLD. Disclosure, Matt and I are managing partners at 1031, which is invested in Fold. We are very, very happy for Will and the team, very proud. And this is honestly, despite our, what many may deem to be biases, this is big for the industry. First pure play Bitcoin financial services company. going from private markets to public markets?
Yeah. No, I mean, I first of all, massive shout to Will and his team. It took a lot of work to get here. Jonathan Kirkwood from our team was very involved and very instrumental in helping them go public. It was a long process. I know they're very excited and relieved and proud to be here. So huge shout to them. Look, now, so Marty already mentioned that 1031 is one of the largest investors in Fold. They are a public company now. All of a sudden, it's under the purview of securities regulation. So just keep in mind, like as the next months, years unfold,
Pun intended.
there are certain things we can talk about and there's certain things we can't talk about. But I would just say to people, like, don't just like go ape your life savings into stock. You know, consider staying humble and stacking sats. And I will never tell you to buy a stock or not. Just keep that in mind. But I think this is just the beginning for Fold, and it's a massive. Yesterday was a massive day, and it's just wonderful to see it come to fruition.
Really is. Excited to see Will next week in New York. Hopefully, some other teammates. It'll be it's going to be interesting to see if this starts a trend. Like, I think, again, big for the industry because it's validation that you can build a successful business by focusing on Bitcoin. Garner, you don't need to dabble in shit coins. We had Brian Armstrong on X earlier this week saying that Bitcoin's a meme coin, and while meme coins in their current manifestation are crazy, like there is room for this stuff. We're going to make it happen. It's like, yeah, you're confused. You're spreading your resources and your attention thin. And for the longest time, the idea, particularly in the investment space, was like, why invest in Bitcoin companies when they're not offering everything else in crypto? They're gonna be unable to reach a level of success that makes it an investable prospect. Our thesis at 1031 is that is completely idiotic. These are the best businesses to invest in, and the fact that Fold is going public is incredible validation that there are incredible businesses to be made by focusing on Bitcoin. So shout out to Will and the team.
Damn right.
Van Eck, employee, is claiming that Jack Dorsey is Satoshi. Did you just have Satoshi on Citadel Dispatch? What's it feel like, sir?
I don't think Jack is Satoshi. I think it was irresponsible of this dude to release a 25-page paper grasping at straws, claiming he's Satoshi. Particularly claiming that anyone is anyone who's living as Satoshi is, you just put them at risk. And I mean, I think there's a bunch of holes in his argument. I mean, I think I think the idea, the fascination of trying to unearth who Satoshi is it's
never going away.
Non-productive. Yes, but it's also a non-productive endeavor that doesn't really accomplish anything, and could actually you could actually go further than that. And if the person is actually effectively and positively identified, it could actually be worse for both him and Bitcoin stakeholders. I think there's a decent argument on that side. But the whole point of Bitcoin is that who Satoshi is does not matter. And that's also why Satoshi left in the first place. So I think stakeholders should respect those wishes. All that said, on this specific claim, well, first of all, it would be incredibly badass if one of my closest friends was Satoshi. Like, that would just be fucking awesome. But I just don't think he's Satoshi. If you do think about like who is Satoshi and you wanted to go down that rabbit hole, you basically come down to two conclusions. Probably someone who was in cypherpunk circles and on the cypherpunk mailing list. And then number two, probably someone who lived in California at the time. And so basically this guy like spent 25 pages And it all really just comes down to Jack being on the cypherpunk mailing list and living in California. And some of it is just batshit crazy, like the
Pure
address things.
numerology.
Like there's one address that starts with 1DUDSF, and he's like, this means one dude in SF. And then there's like another address where right in the middle, like dead center in the middle of the address, it says JD2M, and he's like, this stands for Jack Dorsey 2 Mint Plaza. It's like, okay, dude, fucking insane.
Well,
and then last but not least, before I hand it off to you, Marty, the last thing is in his body of his quote unquote expose or whatever, he's like, I'm doing this for the benefit of Bitcoin and for the benefit of Jack. Since he's Satoshi, like he should get his affairs in order, a succession plan in place, like inheritance, security. It's like, dude, you clearly have lost the plot somewhere along the line of your Bitcoin journey. If that's the angle you're coming at it from.
Was there, by the way, we offer these services
at
the bottom.
He ends it and he thanks a bunch of people. And one of the people he thanks is Craig Wright. It's like, what the fuck's going on here, bro?
Yeah, very confusing. The numerology with the addresses, because you would have to, they would essentially have to be vanity addresses, right? With like a little Easter egg in it. And if I'm understanding
that he
correctly,
brute forced them and created those addresses intentionally.
Yeah, and vanity addresses are notoriously more susceptible to brute forcing attacks, right? To reverse engineer the private key via the public key. I believe
you just keep making a shit ton of addresses till you get the one you want, essentially.
Oh. Yeah.
You're just mass generating addresses and you have like the software checked till you get the one you want.
I thought you could I thought there was like a way to create like vanity addresses without like you could say like I want this string in the address.
I think what you're effectively telling the software is make a shit ton of addresses and let me know when I get that string.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I had somebody.
And then he did you read through it? He also had another part where he's like,
I read the.
When Satoshi left, he emailed, "I'm really busy right now. I'm busy with work." At the same time, Jack Dorsey was busy with work. It's like, okay, dude, really compelling evidence.
I read the long tweet. I haven't read. There's a web page with chapters and all that. I have that.
Then he has one line where he's like, in 2006. Jack tweeted out, my favorite fashion designer is, and then it's just some like Japanese woman's name. And he's like, and she's from Japan. It's like, okay. Huge fact to add to the piece of the puzzle. It's all coming together now for me. But anyway, the internet was convinced that Jack Dorsey was.
Oh, people are very much convinced.
Satoshi for like 3 days.
You know this, and I know it's embarrassing to many, but I still have an Instagram account. One of my friends from Barstool, who's relatively well known, DM'd me a link. It's blowing up on Instagram. He's like, I'm convinced Jack's Satoshi. And I was like, I don't think he is, dude. And he was like, it's on him to prove he's not Satoshi now. I was like, God damn it. So this is part of the problem that people try to unearth Satoshi.
The one thing, like, dude, if he was Satoshi, like Jack, what people don't know about Jack is he's just loves to troll people. And that's why he came up with Twitter. Cause like you have to be a master troll to come up with something like Twitter. Like Twitter was designed for trolls. And just the idea that Satoshi just like the only shirt he owns is just his name with the Nirvana smiley face. And he just walks around wearing a Satoshi shirt, like goes to the Super Bowl, wears a Satoshi shirt.
Hiding in plain sight.
It's like there would be a legendary troll.
Yeah. He is a massive troll. Yeah, that'd be on brand for him. I don't think he's Satoshi though.
People are like trying to figure out who Satoshi is for 15 plus years, and like meanwhile, it was the guy that was just walking around to the Super Bowl in a Satoshi shirt.
Enough of that. More Satoshi theories out there. There's another one to list for you. I got to give him credit. It was unique. First time I've heard this theory. Put a lot of effort into it.
What?
So I've never heard Jack of Satoshi as a theory. Yeah.
Well, I would just say one last thing to end it. Like, Jack, if you are Satoshi, like, can you just add Bitcoin support to Square terminals so we can pay with Bitcoin?
Yeah, come on, dude. You think he'd be motivated to do that?
Any day now.
Next up on the list. That's enough. Well, don't need to bring any more attention to that. Brink has renewed financial support for all of their 8 Bitcoin Core engineers that they've been supporting through the rest of this year. That includes Fanquake, Gloria Zhao, Hennady, Stepanov, Sebastian, Nicholas Goj, Stefensky, Fabian Jar, shout out to Fabian, and Marco Leon. Great to see Brink. Shout out to Schmitty. He will be giving a presentation at the Bitcoin Takeover here in Austin, Texas on March 14th. If you want to learn more about Brink, what they're doing. Matt, I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart, considering that you co-founded OpenSats, which is doing similar work. So it's a team effort.
No, Schmitty is fucking a legend among men. He's great. Brink is more hyper-focused than OpenSats. OpenSats has a much wider scope and scale. And Brink is more hands-on and very focused on Bitcoin Core. And I'm very grateful to have them in the ecosystem. They're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to see. And a lot of our deals, like, I think the next piece on the list, I don't have the list in front of me, but a lot of times when we have large donations come in, like if a large donation comes in on the OpenSat side, I will suggest that we split it with Brink and HRF. Just because it's just better for the ecosystem if that money is spread around and you have more people distributing it.
Yeah, which is next on the list. Bitwise announced the distribution of $150,000 to support Bitcoin open source developers to Brink, OpenSats, and HRF.
Yeah, so this is that Bitwise commitment that was last year where they said 10% of proceeds from their ETF, they would be donating to open source contributors, split evenly between OpenSats, Brink, and HRF. And this is following through with the commitment. $150,000 split evenly. It would go a long way. We're very grateful for it. I hope to see more ETFs follow suit. The Bitwise guys believe that it'll be significantly larger next year in terms of contribution. So we'll see that contribution increase over time, hopefully. And I love this style of commitment, right? Where it's a percentage of profit and it's effectively in perpetuity. I think like our agreement actually has like a number of years where it ends, but the handshake is like, this is in perpetuity. Just like lawyers will never let you sign something that says in perpetuity. But that's awesome, right? Because from the OpenSat side, we're 100% pass through. We do not take a cut of donations. If you donate 1 Bitcoin to OpenSats, 1 Bitcoin goes to open source contributors. So as a result, we only have one full-time, and we actually have 2 full-time members now. We have Gigi and someone that Gigi just promoted. And as a result, like it's just hard to constantly raise money, right? So when we have these reoccurring donations, it really goes a long way. And by the way, on that note, I would just say, I was just talking to Gigi yesterday about it. It really blows my mind that we have the technology right now, Bitcoin, that people can just like anon donate to OpenSats in size. Like people just drop full Bitcoin in there. We've had more than 1 Bitcoin come in at a time, just through our BTC Pay server. They didn't want a tax receipt, so just completely anonymous. Have no idea who donated it. Straight to open source contributors. Pretty cool.
That is pretty badass. Power Bitcoin. And then using it to batch transactions to send out the grants. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, all of our grants we couldn't do without Bitcoin. We're going to send out grants to 40 plus countries. 200 contributors in 40 plus countries. Our entire time would be spent sending wires, and probably some of the countries like you wouldn't even have the banking infrastructure to do it. Bitcoin makes it, and at these current fee levels, it's incredibly cheap to do too.
It's incredible to see. Shout out to Bitwise. Shout out to everybody supporting open source developers. Onto the clown world section of the show. Argentina's Milei faces fraud charges, impeachment calls after failed meme coin launch. Dave Portnoy
Looks like
was on
Zaps.
this one.
It looks like Zaps weren't working for a while on Zap.stream, but they're working now. And Pedro MVPG, Ride or Die Freak, zapped 21,000 sats. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pedro. Been a minute.
Yeah, what do you think about this whole Milei thing?
It's a clown world section. The fact that world leader, who knows if it was through his sister, this guy was banging his sister. This scummy guy.
That's wild.
Scammer. Yeah. I don't know if the screenshots were real, but if the screenshots are real, it's like, oh, he was...
What, like the transcript of him saying like that he just owned Milei?
Yeah, he said he put his finger somewhere and she would do whatever he asked. It was very, but like the fact that
who knows if it's real or not,
whether it's Milei or like the people behind World Liberty Fi here in the United States, Trump, like the fact that these scammers who just like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm from Philadelphia. Maybe it's my EQ, whatever. Like I like to think, and I think history has proven that I have a workable bullshit meter. And you think like if you're not, you don't even have to be the president, but the people around the president should know that there's going to be hawks and vultures trying to get in their inner circle for influence and power and money. Like, how do you not sniff the bullshit meter on that? Like, just look at the guy that was doing interviews with Dave Portnoy. And
it's
like
so bad. The main guy.
Yeah, how do you trust this guy to do anything for you? I don't know.
He like couldn't keep his composure at all. He just like kept breaking down on like the simplest questions ever.
And like incriminating himself.
Like at one point, like Portnoy was like whose money is it? And he just couldn't even answer the question.
It's like...
But I feel like Portnoy incriminated himself in that interview too.
Portnoy, like, I was texting some of the Barstool guys, like, tell him to stop fucking tweeting this shit out and talking to these people. He's gonna get roped into some shit.
I think he's pretty roped in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean,
the Milei side too is like super weak. He's like, oh, I didn't endorse it. I merely shared it. You know, it's like very like it lacked a lot of personal responsibility. It's pretty sad to see. At the very least, like, okay, you got hoodwinked, you know, you made a mistake, you were thinking about all these different things. Just own up, be like, I shouldn't have fucking done it.
Yeah.
Like he's never once said I shouldn't have fucking done it.
I think that's the most
like I fucked up. Like all he had to do, I fucked up. I sincerely fucked up. I'm sorry if people lost money. This is a horrible situation. I hate the stain that it's bringing on Argentina. And I will do better going forward. Boom. Send tweet.
You should be a speechwriter.
It's like these are the things you teach 8-year-olds.
But it's very it's a bummer. It's become glaringly obvious, like similar to the 5 million sat stimmy that Elon wants to do. Like this is a form of acceleration where it's like, all right, we're getting to the end, hopefully getting near the end state of like, this is a pure gambling, retarded. Like 2 presidents have now been conned by the meme coin craze. And actually 3, if you count that guy from Africa who launched this coin too. But
yeah, there's going to be more.
But it's like, it's just a huge bummer because it's like, does anybody have integrity? Like, is there a moral, like, does anybody... Not only integrity, but like just like class. Like that's maybe I'm an elitist Northeast prep kid, but it's just the meme coin craze is just like classless. It's like aesthetically ugly, like culturally ugly, just pure degenerate gambling. The thought of 2 leaders of somewhat respectable country in Argentina and what is supposed to be the most powerful country in the world, in the United States, they're getting wrapped up in this. It's like, and Trump especially, who his whole brand is around like, my house is painted in gold and I build these beautiful buildings. And,
Yeah, but Trump also will sell you like orange sneakers and watches and steaks
Yeah.
and universities.
can we bring back class to our society, please? All I ask for. Is that too much to ask for?
Probably, but I'm with you.
Do you think there's any repercussions for? I don't think it will happen for Trump, but maybe Milei. It seems like people are pretty pissed off down there.
I don't pretend to understand how Argentinian politics work, but my guess is probably not. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like these guys get away with it, and then you have like the Portnoys of the world that they're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do like 6 rugs in a row. Like, what, I saw the president do it. Why wouldn't I do it? What's the worst that can happen? I get a slap on the wrist or whatever. And like we like very much live in a society now where it's like if people think they can get away with something, and maybe that's always been the case, right? But this is the only society I've ever lived in. But like where people think if they can get away with something, then they do it. It's not like actually like an innate moral code, right? I've seen like people in our age group, like they're so used to having cameras everywhere that like if they're in a hallway or something, in like a building hallway without cameras on, like they'll just destroy the hallway. Like there's just no repercussions, so they'll just do whatever the fuck they want.
What?
And that's
Who are you hanging out
where
with?
we're at right now. I've seen it happen. Is my point.
Yeah.
You know, like graffiti, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just trashing places, right? It's like if you can get away with it, you just trash the place. And obviously, like this wasn't relatively recently, when I was younger. But the point of the matter is that society at this point, like if you think you can get away with something, people will just fucking do it and they won't think twice. And it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a great shame, and on a more serious note, like I think you need these. I don't want to say non-rigid; they are rigid, but like you need to enforce like social norms. Like we are, and like I can't stop thinking about like Fermi's paradox. Like are we reaching bringing it back to acceleration? Like, are we accelerating towards a point where it's just like you can do whatever you want? Social norms are thrown out the door. You can rug that person. You can graffiti that wall. You can piss in the subway. Like, we need to bring back class.
I think it's like
social norms.
I think there's like a pendulum, right? Like you got to like hit the extreme before you self-correct back. I think like we hit mandibles and then hopefully we improve from there. Like society. It's the meme, right? It's the
great man. Blah blah blah. We know it.
Blah 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 meme. Yeah, it's true though. Every good meme is based in reality, right?
Yeah.
I love it. You don't even have to say the meme. It's it's the meme.
Yeah, great man.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah. All right, Argentina not being run by a great man. Apparently, we're not. We're still in the soft men create hard times. It seems Bitcoin will fix this. And what a great example of that is people leveraging open source Bitcoin technology to do things. Unbank partners with Voltage to bring Lightning payments to 40,000 locations. Weren't they using BTC Pay?
This one's pretty cool. Yeah, this one flew under my radar. Supposedly, Unbank has been around for a while, and I guess my understanding is they recently, like integrated BTC Pay across their entire stack, and so they're leveraging BTC Pay server to power a bunch of ATMs, power a bunch of merchant terminals in terms of paying Bitcoin, and receiving Bitcoin. I think their press release, and I have not verified this, and I have no idea how I would be able to verify this, says they have 40,000 ATMs around the country. And it seems like they're all running BTC Pay server, or at least using BTC Pay server on the back end. So the Voltage partnership presumably comes into play because Voltage makes it really easy to run BTC Pay servers.
And the Lightning
so instead of
management, I imagine.
Yeah, and everything that goes with BTC Pay, right? Which is a Bitcoin node and a Lightning node. So cool partnership to see. cool business that I just didn't know existed. But this general concept, this idea that you can sustainably monetize open source software while the actual stack is open, anyone else can build on it without permission, is something that I'm fascinated by, and I think will have massive knock-on improvements for society. There's this idea of open source businesses, because then all of a sudden you're not relying on pure charity, and charity is not sustainable. It should be thought, charity should more be thought of as like a bootstrapping mechanism, ideally getting to a point where you have these sustainable business models that can go on in perpetuity and be robust. And so in this case with Unbank, for instance, Unbank now is one of the BTC Pay supporters. So like BTC Pay is supported by OpenSats, Spiral, a bunch of other organizations, but they're also now supported by Unbank. So Unbank is making a profit and they're giving it back to the developers that are effectively maintaining the open source project that their business relies on.
It's sick to see. Tesla, when are you going to step up? We know you forked BTC Pay server, actually reported a bug.
Yeah, but then they removed it because of ESG reasons.
Elon. But no, I mean, for those who are unaware, Tesla forked BTC Pay server, contributed back to the open source project. And I don't know if they used it for sales or to secure their Bitcoin, but BTC Pay server has provided value to one of the largest companies in the world. And now Unbank here, they have 40,000 plus retail locations, including in Walgreens and CVS throughout the country. So this was really cool to see. And I think they've done a lot of volume already too.
Yeah, a shit ton of volume. What do you see the number there?
I think it was like $40 million like already.
Yeah. You had never heard of them, right?
No.
Pretty cool, just quietly building.
Yeah. Shout out to Unbank.
By the way, yeah, go on. Shout out to Voltage. Voltage, great team, and they've just been constantly grinding. There's like a few projects and companies and stuff that there's just no other alternative. Like I would put like Sparrow in that boat. I would put Zeus in that boat for like managing your node on your phone. And like Voltage is another one. It's like, oh, you want to easily like run a full Lightning node in a secure and efficient way. Like, is there anywhere else you can do that?
Amboss maybe? Anywhere else?
Can you do that on Amboss? I don't know if you can. Well, anyway, Bitcoin Parks node uses BTC Pay. I uses Voltage. The node that backs Citadel Dispatch uses it. It's just a great product. I mean, if there's a better option out there, freaks, put it in the comments.
Looks like Amboss.
Down to podcast.
It's only analytics now.
But just back real quickly to our other conversation, and also it rolls into memes too. I think part of it, like the personal responsibility aspect, like maybe I think there is some credence to, the money is soft, fix the money, fix the world. If Bitcoin succeeds and we move to a Bitcoin standard, then incentives are more properly aligned. But I think also a lot of it is, localism versus like big society, right? Where like to bring it back to memes is like, try that in a small town, right? Like if you want to rug, if you're going to rug the 1,000 people in your small town, like there's probably going to be significant repercussions for you and you probably won't do it. And you'll probably act with more personal responsibility. But if you are a leader of a nation state or you're Dave Portnoy, like jet setting around, like there's probably no real repercussions for you and you'll just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Or if you're in the subway in New York City and it's 20 million people in the metropolitan area and nobody knows each other, then you're going to be a fucking dickbag to each other.
Yeah. I agree with that. The cost of breaking social norms is much less in these big metropolitan areas, not those scales. Speaking of
like big society,
speaking of the big metropolitan area we used to live in, what are your thoughts on Trump coming down with the congestion pricing ban hammer?
What is that? He's getting rid of congestion pricing in New York City.
He did it this week. Yeah.
Is he allowed to do that?
I don't know. That's like everybody, like I was very vocally pro Trump, and I'm very happy that he's president compared to what could have been. But something like, yeah, like, I don't know. Can you just like be like, state of New York, you can't, or New York City, you can't tax your city the way you want to? Does the federal government have that? I don't know. Is he abusing power? I don't know. Seems like a bit
Well, I guess
of outrage.
the courts will work it out. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even know if he has the power or not. He's just like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
My guess is he probably doesn't, but I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer either, Logan.
I guess some of the bridges are interstate, right? So like the GW is between New York and New Jersey.
Oh, the tunnels
Like,
too.
the feds, some of them, right?
The tunnels are all, I mean, on the east side at least. It's all.
Yeah, but
or the west side, excuse me.
Yeah, but the Tappan Zee up top is New York to New York. Mm-hmm. Well, they call it something else now. They changed the name. You know the story behind the Tappan Zee Bridge? Like that's the story basically. Is like they were thinking about building the GW first, or at least this is my understanding. And then they didn't want to give New Jersey a cut. So instead they built the bridge farther up so that New York controlled both sides of the waterway. And so they built that bridge first, and then eventually they came to an agreement and built the GW, which is much more convenient because it's not further north.
Yeah, bridges built out of spite.
Yeah,
love to see it. Yeah, a lot of people taking both sides. A lot of people in New York not happy that he banhammered the congestion pricing. Apparently, it has been beneficial for those who are not happy with the traffic in New York. Then you have the other side. I mean, the argument that it's a tax on the poor.
It's definitely more of a tax on the poor, just because it matters more to them, right? If they have to drive into the city and whatever the price is matters more to them than someone with a higher net worth. I don't really have a vote on the matter anymore, because I think the best way to vote in America is with your feet, and to just move your family and your businesses to a different state if you disagree with them. It's an amazing thing we have with America, that we have this competition of states. That being said, when I did live in New York, and as an external participant now, I do think there's a strong argument to make like pedestrian bike only areas. Like there should just be areas of the city that are just not cars.
Agreed.
I think you lean into the density of New York and what makes it unique and what makes it special. And it actually would probably have massive economic benefits for the city, that a congestion pricing doesn't really solve the main issue, and doesn't actually it probably doesn't increase economic revenue the way that an actual revitalization of pedestrian areas would be, bike areas.
But to your point of vote with your feet, that's where I think like Trump's overextending his boundary here, where it's like, if New York made a bad policy with this congestion pricing, people of New York or surrounding New York will likely act by using their feet to move away, and that would hurt New York. I don't think you need the president to.
It would reduce congestion too.
Yeah, to come in with a banhammer on congestion.
No,
pricing.
I would like to see more autonomy among the states, even if it's among states that I disagree with their priorities and their path. Like in general, I would like to see governance move closer and closer to local, right? I like the idea of localism. I think that aligns incentives much more, gives people more agency. Shout out Paulie, 21,000 sats. He says, new tire for the babysitter. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulie. Shout out to Soap Miner, 21,000 sats. Thank you, was his message. Thank you for the sats. Let's keep going down the list here. Next up, Nigeria appears to have swapped Binance executive Tigran Gambaryan for U.S. resources and expertise, in quotes, to fight illicit finance in a secret deal with the State Department. And this link does not work for me here.
It's a fucking crazy story. I wonder, by the way, if your internet is all messed up right now because everyone's on the Wi-Fi for BitDevs.
Probably.
So we're straining the commons internet right now. But this is a crazy story. So this guy when Binance had their back up against a wall, they brought in a fucking spook to run their compliance. Like they brought in like he's ex IRS investigations guy, like major league Fed, and they bring him in to run compliance. And they're like negotiating all this stuff with the Nigerian government, and the Nigerian government plays very dirty. And I think they said that they were ready to make some kind of agreement, and he flew into the country to make the agreement. They were like, let's have a meeting, and they like effectively red weddinged him. Like they like just threw him in solitary for a year and a half or something like that for a while, and like in really, really bad conditions. So Binance couldn't get him out. At the same time, CZ got sentenced to 4 months in jail in the US. CZ went in and went out. They paid a bunch of fines. And I guess in the fall, The Rage is reporting that he was finally freed. And part of that agreement to free him was the US government making assurances to the Nigerians that they would help with financial surveillance and with, quote unquote compliance, but really spying on their citizens, because the Nigerian government is trying to really bring down the hammer on money flows of their citizens. They're trying to control it as much as possible.
Yeah, it's very.
Keep in mind, Nigeria is, I believe, the only major rollout of a CBDC besides China. It's failed miserably. But they still tried to do it. That's where their objectives are.
I can't believe we're giving resources to the Nigerian government. That's a bad deal. On the U.S.'s part, obviously Nigeria. You don't negotiate with terrorists. Like what? So this happened. Was this under the Biden administration?
I guess like the last days. Yeah, it was like November, December 2024.
It's one of their last bad deals. Well, careful in Nigeria, freaks. Especially if you're a Western executive looking to.
Oh, by the way, I didn't put this on the list because it came out after the list, but Kash Patel got confirmed.
Cash is in.
That's pretty crazy.
Release the Epstein files. Let's go.
I'm cautiously optimistic. That could be fucking massive.
Oh, it could be. You don't have it on the list too, but I think we should touch on it. Fort Knox. A lot of talk about Fort Knox this week.
Oh, is the gold there?
I think the gold's going to be there. That's my theory.
I don't understand how the gold not being there pumps the price of Bitcoin. I think it's like a little bit of a stretch, but
I don't. Yeah. I wrote a tweet.
It would
about
pump the fuck out of the price of gold, right? Like it clearly price of gold.
Would it, or I guess I don't know. What's the game theory? Would it, or the incentive? Would it?
If there's way less gold, if the U.S. has way less gold than they say they do,
but would it?
Doesn't that mean if they want gold, they have to go buy it on the market, so the price should go up?
But would it erode confidence in?
No, I think
vaults?
That's Bitcoiners just thinking Bitcoin things.
Well, Bitcoiners out there who are screaming, Bitcoin's going to pump and the gold's not there. Number one, I don't know if that causality makes sense immediately. Number two,
I mean, I understand what you're implying there and what others have implied, which is the beauty of Bitcoin is that you can easily, cheaply, efficiently, trustlessly verify and audit it. Not only the entire supply, but also your own supply with your own node. You can always make sure it's like keeping large amounts of gold, keeping it secure, and making sure it's actually gold and not fake is a very cost-intensive, difficult thing to do. And Bitcoin fixes that. Now, I don't know how many capital allocators outside of the Bitcoin community are going to take that conclusion from Fort Knox not having gold if Fort Knox didn't have gold.
Yeah.
Or didn't have all the gold they say they have.
And here, lesson for the Bitcoiners. Let's have a framing lesson here. The frame isn't the gold's not there. They're going to go and they're going to discover that the gold's not there, and therefore Bitcoin's going to pump. Terrible frame, because you just leave yourself up to what I think is the most likely scenario. You have Elon, Rand Paul, now Donald Trump earlier today believe it was on Air Force One. The press was asking about this. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go check out Fort Knox and make sure the gold's there." If you think Donald Trump during his presidency is going to allow live stream cameras to walk into gold Fort Knox and to discover that there's no gold there at a time when the world is scrambling for physical gold, you are an abject idiot. If anything, they are funneling gold in tunnels to Fort Knox as we speak so that Trump can basically open up on a live stream and be like, "Oh, not only is the gold here, we actually have more than we thought." Like to signal economic strength.
Look at all this pretty gold.
Look at all.
Buy my commemorative gold coin.
Yeah.
To honor this beautiful day. And
so this is why the framing that's being put out there is terrible framing. You want to set yourself up for wins no matter what happens. And it anchors back to what Matt described earlier. The frame should be is like, I don't know if the gold's there or not. It'll be interesting to find out if it is there. Bitcoin fixes this because you don't have to wonder. You don't have to have all these conspiracy theories. And so if we show up, the gold's there. It's like, hey, it's cool that it's there. And like you said, are we going to say all of it? Are we going to say each bar and see if it's actually gold? Are we going to count each bar? Can you do that for me? How long is that going to take? How much is that going to cost? The gold isn't there. It's like, hey, we told you, like you should have put it in Bitcoin, audit it, and maybe the Bitcoin price pumps. But framing it in a way where we're going to Fort Knox, the gold is going to be there, and Bitcoin's going to pump is terrible because you're just setting the market up for a terrible disappointment.
The other thing is, my understanding is the gold that we say is there is about $800 million worth of gold. And our total debt is like $32 trillion.
Well, that's because it's marked at $42.
No. If you mark it up, it's 800 million is my understanding.
No, I thought it was like 4,800 tons.
800 billion, I mean. Not
800 billion, yeah. I mean, that's material.
I mean, it's not compared to a $32 trillion debt.
36, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's fucking nothing. And yeah, that's also crazy to me that it's not marked to market. Like, I still don't understand. Is that just like the government's like, that's too much paperwork for us, we just don't want to deal with that? Like, how are you pricing it at $42 an ounce?
I talked to Luke Roman about this, and I don't think anybody knows exactly why. I have like a sparkle on my neck. Do you see that? That little, I don't know what the heck
I can't really see it. No,
I'm
sure the freaks see it.
I'm moonlighting as a drag queen for you because you caught me.
I don't understand why they refuse to market at market price. It makes no sense to me.
I think the conclusion we came to was to have it as like a trump card at some point down the line when the price of gold goes. It's like, all right, if we ever get in a desperate situation, where
like free money,
we're just like, all right, we're market to market. It's worth 800 billion now. Paulie in the I know we're not supposed to read, but I have to push back. Abject idiot here. Tricky Dick Nixon sold it all. Yeah, I don't like. That's the thing. We can't audit the gold. I would not be surprised that the gold was not there 2 months ago. They are going to find a way to get the gold there before we walk in and live stream it. And the game theory, the incentives there is the world thinks the gold's not in Fort Knox. And everybody's like, we're going to go. And the U.S. is going to have their dick in their hand and they're not going to have any gold. If you think Trump's going to let that happen, he's going to open the doors. It's going to be blinding gold light coming at you. There's going to be more bars than we ever thought were possible to fit in the vaults. And the U.S. is financially secure. That's what's going to happen. I'm calling it
now. Crazy times.
Yeah, incredible.
Psyops abound.
Yes.
Just stay humble and stack sats about it.
Yes.
It's a peaceful life.
Yes. Stay humble, stack sats, and if you're running iOS, you probably want to run to update because iOS version 18.3.1 came out, which fixes a security flaw used in sophisticated attacks. You're running an iPhone.
Yeah, so my understanding, someone needs physical access to do this attack, but still, update.
It's being labeled as an extremely sophisticated attack, so I would imagine physical access is necessary.
Not just sophisticated. It's extremely sophisticated.
Yes. So beware. Moving on to the Human Rights Foundation, story of the week, and I see some YouTube comments, people saying HRF USA. I haven't seen anything about HRF getting USAID money. I've seen like some people sponsoring an event that received money. I honestly haven't seen anything about HRF getting it. People wanted us to comment on it. That's my comment. I have no idea. You're talking to somebody You're talking to somebody who's put on a list by a USAID funded organization in the Center for Countering Digital Hate.
I interact mostly with the Bitcoin side of HRF, and the work they do is fucking awesome. And their team is great. And my understanding is they're mostly independently funded.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these things you won't have to speculate. There'll be organizations that survive Doge, and there'll be organizations that don't survive Doge. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. And like Matt said, we're very close to their Bitcoin team. They're very transparent about everything they do, and I enjoy their work. I think they've done a lot to contribute to Bitcoin. Signal, the controlled op. The controlled op tweets. Send them. This week's Human Rights Foundation story of the week comes from Zimbabwe, where ordinary citizens pay the price of deeply indebted regime. Zimbabwe's debt crisis has pushed 7.6 million people into food insecurity as an El Nino-driven drought worsens an economy already hardly mismanaged and exploited by military dictatorship. The roots of this crisis run deep. Former tyrant Robert Mugabe's land seizures in the early 2000s shattered agriculture output, wiped out foreign investment, and unleashed hyperinflation that erased Zimbabweans' savings and wages. Decades of economic mismanagement drained the national resources and exacerbated food security. Now, ordinary citizens shoulder the cost of regime failures. Families who once farmed their own land depend on expensive food imports they can't afford, while the bankrupt regime pleads for more dollar-based loans, only to weaken the local currency and sink the country further into debt. Debt, not great. For more stories like this,
It's fucked up.
Really is. Make sure you sign up for the Financial Freedom Report at financialfreedomreport.org. Very fucked up. And we're seeing this. It's happening in South Africa, too, if you freaks are unaware. The private infringement.
What's happening in South Africa is fucking insane.
Yeah. It's prototypical beginning of the end. They're attacking private property rights, and this has been going on for years. The whole focus on attack the boer, go after the farmers who are predominantly white within South Africa. It seems to have hit a head where recently they completely just nixed private property rights, and the state of South Africa has the ability to just seize farmland. It was happening sort of not indirectly, but outside the official purview of the state, but now it is official state mandate that private property can be seized in South Africa, particularly the farmland. It's probably going to end in famine, which typically happens, as we see with Zimbabwe here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't pretend to understand everything that's going on over there, but from what I can tell is failed state, horrible shit. And I do support the idea that Elon has pushed, which is making it an easier path for productive farmers from South Africa to move and build businesses in America. I think that would be great.
There's a lot of the Iranians. There's a town in South Africa, Irania. Tur Demeester was just there. We recorded an episode on TFTC about it. A lot of Iranians, Afrikaners, particularly Afrikaners, have congregated in Irania in South Africa. But for the Afrikaners who did not go to Irania, a lot of them came here and are West Texas ranching right now. Private property rights are important. Bitcoin protects private property rights in the digital world. Set up your own private public key pair, secure it properly, and you have supreme control over your Bitcoin, over your property. On to... Get any more boosts or zaps, excuse me.
Yeah, we have 21,000 sats from Soap Miner saying the Bitcoin standard is going to take a while. Obviously, everyone isn't going to adopt sats overnight. What do you think about the ecosystem when it comes to sats and Nostr together? I mean, I think we've been pretty consistent on it. I think Nostr is the largest Bitcoin circular economy in the world. And for a lot of people, it'll be their first way using Bitcoin, spending Bitcoin, receiving Bitcoin. I think someone who receives sats from posting on, sending out a shit post or posting content, it's a fundamentally different way to experience Bitcoin for the first time. than if you go and sign up for an exchange and give your ID information and buy it, or even worse, go and buy it on an ETF or something like that. So I think Nostr adoption is also going to be a long grind. But every person that does come into Bitcoin through Nostr, it seems to be a path where they're more comfortable with using it as their everyday currency, both for savings and for spending. Good money should be good for both saving and spending. You need both. It's not one or the other.
Agreed. We've got one readable boost from Bitcoin Dreams, Rabbit Hole Recap 344, from Eric99, 21,000 sats. Stay humble. Stack sats. Thank you, Eric.
Great advice.
On to the software update section of the show. Fountain app version 1.1.16 has been released. We talked about this last week, live on air. That's what I was trying to say. Nostr live streams and storage manager have been released.
I don't think we gave them like a specific link out, so that's why I put it back there. And also one more thing is, right now the way it's set up is you have to follow the show in order. It pops up on the top of your feed if you follow the show. So if you haven't been able to figure out how to watch and interact with our live stream, it means you're not subscribing. So
you better subscribe. I saw a couple people in the Zap.stream comments commenting via the Fountain apps. Shout out to you freaks. Thank you for joining us and testing out this new function on Fountain. Big release from Cold Card. They have a Cold Card Edge release version 6.3.5x for the MK4 and version 6.3.5QX for the Q. This is massive for anybody who is interested in using Miniscript.
Yeah, specifically, this is a big unlock for AnchorWatch and AnchorWatch customers and users. Right now, they're solely using Ledger wallets because that was where the main Miniscript support was, and the other hardware signers hadn't really released support yet. Cold Card actually already had support, but they had a big scary warning when you tried to use it on the Edge firmware. So now it's been blessed for usage, specifically with something like AnchorWatch, where there's redundant checks and backups being done by another coordinator, because it's still very early. So if you're not using it in that kind of setup, I would stick to the main firmware. That's why there's two different firmwares. Also, per last week, we mentioned the new main branch Cold Card firmware release. There was one other feature I wanted to call out that I didn't mention, which is Cold Card has this encrypted backup feature where you can keep an encrypted backup on a micro SD card that keeps all the settings and everything, all the passwords, all like full backup, to make it very easy to restore on a new device or a backup device. As an alternative or to complement SeedWords. I actually like it as more of a complement to SeedWords, because the nice thing about seeds on metal is they're just physical. It's hard to fuck it up. It's hard. Memory degrades over time. It can be damaged, stuff like that. Steel is steel. It's amazing. But the cool part about up until this point, it basically generated a password for you, an encryption password for you, which looked like a seed. And it still does that, but now you can go into advanced options and you can make your own password for that encrypted backup. So you can do things like, if you're in a adversarial situation and you need to get Bitcoin somewhere, you can put it on an SD card, encrypt it, memorize the backup. Then all you need to do is get that little micro SD card wherever you're trying to go. And if someone accesses the micro SD card in the meantime, they still don't have your encrypted password. But if you make it up yourself, then maybe you could be able to memorize it or something like that. Versus having like a random 12-word password. So I thought that was a cool feature that I forgot to highlight last week.
It's a very cool feature. Cold Card, on the cutting edge. Shout out to MVK and the team over there. You guys are crushing it. I love my Q. And my MK4. And my Sats cards. Open dimes. I've got some open dimes I may need to break. I'm trying to are USBs going to go out of style? Like that USB port?
It does I love open times. It does suck that you effectively need an adapter to use it on any modern computer.
Yeah.
They should just like when I gift them for wedding gifts now at this point, like you kind of have to like give them an adapter with it.
That's why you just got to get a SATS card.
Yeah, but it's not as cool as the physical.
That's not.
But yeah, that's why the SATS card exists, because you can just tap it on a phone or whatever.
Big update from BISC. BISC version 1.9.19 and BISC 2 version 2.1.6 have been released with updates and security improvements. I said big update, and I think it's just run-of-the-mill update.
I mean, BISC is awesome. Another massive project that would be hard to live without.
Yeah. Albi Hub version 1.14.2 has been released with basic swap functionality, home widgets, and more. That's it for the software updates. No Nostr software updates. Come on. What's going on, Nostr devs? You pushing code?
I mean, it might also be me.
I'm going to blame the Nostr devs on this one. Hey, Matt, don't be too hard on yourself, okay?
I might just have... It's, making lists every week is... It's hard to keep track with all the developments. We definitely do not keep track of all the developments. We just try our best.
You know what we need to get better at? Leveraging AI. I sat down with Tony and Marks from Open Secret. We recorded a couple days ago. The way they're leveraging AI, like we talked a lot about AI. Like there's processes and tools that we can build and use to just auto-generate the list as the week's happening.
No. But really? Did Mark say this?
No, he wasn't. We didn't talk about the context of the RHR list.
Marks, there's an art to this. This can't be.
Marks, hey, I'm not.
You can't just have a robot come up with the list.
You're putting words in Mark's mouth.
I'm going to be an H1B and Matt's going to be an AI.
Yeah. It's just, I think it would be a pretty shitty show, to be honest. I think there'd be a lot of noise.
Well, it could. We don't have to go by the list. You can like passively get links. And
at that point, why are we even on it? We should just have the AI just.
We could
voice. Just give the AI's opinions. Have the AI give the opinions.
No, it's not. It's not like the AI giving opinions. It's just pulling links of software updates and shit like that.
Yeah, but which ones do you cover? Which ones don't you? Like, it's not going to be. It shouldn't be like a 6-hour show.
No, you get to filter. You get a list, and you get to filter. You're like, oh, that one, that one, that one.
I feel like.
All right, we won't use AI. You Luddite.
Just taking it a little personally.
There is an art to it. You're an incredible list artist. I will say that.
I mean, if you listen to like most of the crypto news shows, like all the different, like the things that get way more viewers than us, like they're usually talking about completely different things than we're talking about.
Haven't watched any in a while.
No, but that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's like we try and look like there's plenty of noise on RHR. Like I don't pretend like we used to be better. We're getting old. We're getting tired. We used to be better, but it's mostly signal. And that part is hard to automate.
Agreed.
But yeah, if you want to if I can just stop showing up and we'll just have the AI create the list and you can have AI Odell join you every week. I'm not totally against that idea. I just think it'll be a worse show.
How would I jailbreak AI Odell? What context and what prompt would I give him to be like, Mandibles is a terrible book? How would I get to that?
You haven't even read it.
It's because I've heard it's a terrible book from your AI that I jailbroke. I have an Odell AI that I talk to when you don't respond to my text.
I see Deanna in the comments asking how to stay up with important updates besides listening to Rabbit Hole Recap. The best way is No Bullshit Bitcoin. NoBSBitcoin.com. They do a great job.
You do an incredible job.
And a lot of our links are from there. And they have no ads. They're completely donation supported. Consider supporting them.
Yeah, and it's harder to find, like, the Bitcoin discussion on X is really degraded over the years, too.
So much noise.
We were spoiled back in, like, 2013 to 2018.
Well, what is it? Another meme, right? You don't know the good old days when you're in them.
Yeah, they were great days. Oh, shout out to Michael Goldstein and Pierre Rochard. They're back behind the mics. I love what they're doing with the Reorg podcast. If you're looking to understand Bitcoin, this is high signal here. If you're looking to understand Bitcoin via an Austrian economics lens from first principles, they're going back and discussing all the pieces they wrote over a decade ago, which are proving to be rather timeless. And so if you're looking for high signal on the economic and political economic side of Bitcoin, highly recommend the Reorg.
And love to see those two legends back together ripping podcasts.
They're so funny.
You should, if you're new, you should go back and listen to the original Noted episodes. That was their old podcast.
Incredible intros, incredible banter.
It was so good.
The Reorg, if you're an OG Noted fan like us, the Reorg they've got it. They're approaching it from a very academic angle, but it's still entertaining and still insightful.
But you gotta, if you haven't listened to it, you have to go back and listen to the original Noted episodes. Listen to both, obviously. But the original Noted episodes were from the good old days.
They were from the good old days. I mean, Pierre and Goldstein, obviously, what they've done at the Nakamoto Institute, and planting the flag over a decade ago, and some of the topics that many people take for granted these days. I mean, they planted the flag, and everything. A lot of things came true. But the Noted, the banter, the dry humor that those two have is. I'm a huge dry humor fan, and those two deliver dry humor better than anybody. Like as good as Larry David, if not better.
I still can't get over the fact that Larry David got an FTX endorsement check for telling people not to use it.
Did he get rolled into a lawsuit because of that? Him and Tom Brady?
I mean, what? He told people not to use it.
Yeah, it was like
he literally said, "I don't trust it."
Wasn't it like
the FTX bankruptcy was so bad that Giselle is pregnant with her trainer's baby.
That's a good one.
It's pretty bad. I mean, he looked dead inside during the Super Bowl. Brady.
He got like that like cheek surgery. Yeah. All the women were talking about like Tom Brady got that surgery that makes people look terrible.
This is what happens when you shitcoin.
Did you see the meme of that was floating around after the Super Bowl? It was a picture of Tom Brady sitting on the bench when they were down 28-3 against the Falcons, like right before they started the comeback. It's like, what did Tom Brady do?
I haven't seen it.
In this moment, it's like that's when he made the deal with the devil and he gave up his wife to win another Super Bowl.
That's actually pretty great.
Yeah. Another rip, 345 rips in.
Pretty crazy.
Are you tired yet? I'm not tired. I'm more energized than ever.
More energized than ever.
All right, I got to get going. BitDevs is starting to heat up here. It's getting louder.
Much